The laughter died instantly. One moment, the Tonight Show audience was roaring at Jimmy Fallon's impression of Adam Levine's signature dance moves, and the next, complete silence, blanketed Studio 6B at 30 Rockefeller Plaza. Adam Levine sat frozen in the guest chair, his phone clutched in trembling hands, staring at a photo that had just changed everything. It started as the perfect late-night segment. Adam was supposed to talk about Maroon 5's new tour, maybe play a game, share some laughs. Instead, he'd begun telling Jimmy about his rescue dog Buddy, a three-legged pit bull mix he'd saved from a kill shelter 6 months ago. The audience was eating it up. Who doesn't love a celebrity rescue story? Buddy was this scrappy little guy, Adam had said, his face lighting up as he scrolled through photos on his phone. Missing his front leg, covered in scars. Nobody wanted him. But when I walked into that shelter and saw him, he paused, smiling at the memory. He looked at me like he was saying, finally, you're here. Jimmy leaned forward with that genuine curiosity that made him America's favorite host. So you just knew? I knew, Adam nodded. Signed the papers that day. Buddy rode home in my Jeep, head hanging out the window like he owned the world. The audience laughed warmly, and Jimmy was setting up his next question when Adam's phone vibrated. He glanced down reflexively, probably expecting a text about pickup times or studio schedules. Instead, his face went white. The photo on his screen showed an empty dog bed, a collar, and a message that made his hands shake. I'm sorry, Adam. We did everything we could. Adam? Jimmy's voice carried concern as the cameras caught every detail of the moment. You okay, man? Adam looked up, and Jimmy saw something he'd never seen in all their years of friendship. Complete devastation. Buddy's gone, Adam whispered, his voice barely audible to the studio audience, but picked up clearly by his wireless mic. The Tonight Show had protocols for everything. Technical difficulties, celebrity meltdowns, unexpected moments. But nobody had a protocol for this. Watching one of the world's biggest rock stars receive news that his rescued dog had died during a routine surgery while he sat in front of 3 million viewers. Jimmy made a choice that would define not just that episode, but his entire understanding of what hosting really meant. He stood up from behind his desk and walked around to Adam's chair. The cameras followed, but this wasn't about good television anymore. This was about a friend who needed support. What happened? Jimmy asked softly, sitting on the edge of his desk next to Adam. Adam stared at his phone screen, tears streaming down his face. He was getting his teeth cleaned. Routine procedure. But his voice cracked. The vet said his heart just stopped under anesthesia. They couldn't bring him back. The studio was so quiet you could hear the air conditioning humming. 300 audience members held their breath, even the Roots, Jimmy's house band, sat motionless behind their instruments. I should have been there, Adam continued, his voice growing stronger, but filled with pain. I should have been with him. Instead, I'm here talking about tour dates, while my dog dies alone on some metal table. Jimmy reached out and placed his hand on Adam's shoulder. Hey, look at me. When Adam looked up, Jimmy's own eyes were wet. Buddy wasn't alone. He was surrounded by people trying to save his life. And you know what? He spent his last 6 months being loved completely. Do you know how many dogs never get that? But Adam wasn't consoled. You don't understand, Jimmy. I failed him. I rescue these animals thinking I'm some kind of hero, but I just give them hope and then, he gestured helplessly at his phone. This is why people don't adopt. This is why they stay in shelters, because loving them hurts too much. That's when Jimmy did something unprecedented in late-night television history. He turned to face the main camera directly. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, his voice carrying absolute sincerity. We're going to take a moment here, because my friend is going through something real. And sometimes real life doesn't wait for commercial breaks. He turned back to Adam. You want to know what I see when I look at you? I see someone who gave a 3-legged dog the best 6 months of his life. I see someone who chose love even when it wasn't convenient, even when it wasn't safe. That's not failure, Adam. That's courage. Adam wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. It doesn't feel like courage. It feels like my heart is breaking. Because it is, Jimmy said simply. And that's what makes you human. That's what makes you real. Do you think Buddy cared about your tour schedule when he was laying in your backyard in the sunshine? Do you think he cared about chart positions when he was riding in your car with his head out the window? No, Adam whispered. He cared that for the first time in his life, someone saw him and said, "You're worth saving." You gave him that, Adam. You gave him everything. The audience began to react. Not with applause, but with the soft sounds of people crying, of hearts breaking and healing simultaneously. But Jimmy wasn't finished. He pulled out his own phone and opened his notes app. You know what we're going to do? We're going to make sure Buddy's story saves other dogs. Right now. Leave on television. He looked into the camera again. Everyone watching. Adam just showed us what real love looks like. It's messy. It's painful. It breaks your heart. But it's worth it. If you're thinking about adopting a rescue animal, don't let fear stop you, because 6 months of being completely loved is better than a lifetime of waiting for someone to care. Adam looked up at Jimmy, then at the camera. When he spoke, his voice was steady despite his tears. Buddy taught me something. He never asked for tomorrow. He just lived every day like it was perfect, because someone finally wanted him. I want to honor that. He pulled up a contact on his phone and dialed. The studio watched as he spoke to someone off camera. "Sarah, it's Adam. I know you have that litter of puppies at the rescue. The ones with medical issues. I want to sponsor all of them. Every surgery, every treatment, everything they need." The call lasted 2 minutes. When he hung up, Adam looked at Jimmy with something resembling peace. 7 puppies, all with heart conditions. They're going to get the care they need now. Jimmy smiled through his own tears. That's how you honor Buddy. Not by stopping, but by continuing. Not by protecting your heart, but by breaking it open for the next animal that needs you. The episode aired exactly as it happened. No editing to remove the pain. No cutting away from the tears. Within hours, rescue organizations across the country reported record adoption inquiries. The hashtag Gone Buddy's Legacy began trending, with thousands of people sharing photos of their own rescue animals. But perhaps the most powerful moment came 3 months later, when Adam returned to The Tonight Show. He brought with him a small, heart-shaped urn and a photo of a new dog, another pit bull mix, this one missing an eye. "This is courage," he told Jimmy, showing the photo. "I named him after what you taught me. That love isn't about avoiding pain. It's about believing that connection is worth the risk of loss." Jimmy looked at the urn, then at his friend. "And Buddy?" Adam smiled. The first genuine smile Jimmy had seen from him since that night. "Buddy comes with me everywhere now. And every time I meet a new rescue dog, I tell them about him. About how being loved, even for a short time, is the greatest gift anyone can give." The episode continued to ripple outward in ways no one could have predicted. Behind the scenes, after the cameras stopped rolling, Adam sat in Jimmy's dressing room for another hour, sharing stories about Buddy that would never make it to television. How Buddy slept on his bed despite weighing 60 pounds. How the dog had learned to play fetch with a tennis ball, running in circles because of his missing leg, but never giving up. "The hardest part," Adam told Jimmy that night, "is that I have all these photos and videos on my phone, and I keep expecting new ones. Like my brain hasn't caught up to the fact that this is all there will ever be." Jimmy nodded, understanding something he'd never had to face. "But look what you created with those 6 months, Adam. Look what just happened in that studio. You didn't just love one dog. You started something that's going to save hundreds." Within a week, the Buddy Fund, that Adam had spontaneously created during the show, had raised over $2 million. Veterinary schools began offering free heart screenings for rescue animals. 3 states passed legislation improving medical care standards in shelters. The video of Adam's breakdown had been viewed over 50 million times, but more importantly, it had led to a 23% increase in pit bull adoptions nationwide. But perhaps the most profound change was in Adam himself. He began visiting shelters not for publicity, but because it had become as essential to him as breathing. He started a foundation called Second Chances, dedicated to providing medical care for animals that would otherwise be euthanized. On the first anniversary of Buddy's death, Adam posted a simple message on social media. A photo of Courage, now healthy and strong, sleeping in what had been Buddy's favorite spot in the backyard. The caption read, "Buddy taught me that love doesn't end when life does. It multiplies." The night Adam Levine broke down on The Tonight Show, he taught millions of viewers something profound. That breaking your heart for something you love isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of being fully, completely human. And sometimes being human is the most powerful thing you can be on television.